Welcome back to normal baseball. Juan Soto might be traded pretty soon. The pitch clock is already getting adjusted after just one season, and the starting pitching market is actually kind of incredible. We're going to talk about all that and a lot more, including some new managers throughout the league. Welcome back to normal baseball. I'm Alex North Dog. That's Lewis. And how we doing, Lewis? It's what, week two of the off season? Three?
We
Somewhere
two,
around there?
we
Two or
two,
three?
two or three somewhere in there, and I am itching to
Been
have
months so
baseball
far.
back. It's been fun, but I miss baseball already. I'm looking forward to talking about what's going on around the league.
Yeah, I'm interested to talking about the stuff, having some fun, be a little silly and goofy. However, before we could be silly and goofy, one thing that does need to be addressed is that yesterday, or I guess 2 days ago from the time this is posted, um, Padres owner Peter Seidler passed away. I believe he was 63 years old or 62 years old.
Yeah,
Um, one of the two. Very sad.
very sad.
Uh,
Did more than enough, more than I can ever imagine for San Diego and the fan base of the Padres, and changed the definition of what it meant to be a small market team. It really did, and gone too soon. I wish that he could see the success that the Padres have made all of baseball for years and years to come.
yeah, what he did for that team, not only that team, but the city of San Diego. He built that stadium up. He drew fans in, and in a way that you didn't really see in San Diego too much before. So he did a really good job with that team, and he definitely does need to be remembered. And just a little rest in peace.
Yes, of course. Rest in peace. Prayers up to his family, the Padres, and everything. And he was a world class guy from start to finish. No way to get around it. Definitely gone way too soon. I hope the Padres can win soon to honor what he has done for the city of San Diego.
For sure. For sure. They've been going all in for the last couple seasons, and maybe it was a little bit too much of all in. Because as we know, we talked about it last time, they needed to take out a $50 million loan this past season towards the end of the year. And when the news of that broke, it became evident that they need to get rid of someone. They were struggling to pay their payroll, and someone had to go to pay it. That person might just be Juan Soto.
Might be.
Juan Soto is a free agent after next season, so he is still a big trade piece. Whatever team gets him, obviously, it will be a contending team more than likely. They will either, extend him or whatever. But despite Soto's agent, Scott Boras, saying during the GM meetings that he fully expects Soto to be on the Padres opening day roster, it's been reported by multiple people. Buster Only, I believe, was one of the guys who said 100% Soto will be traded this offseason. And earlier today, or yesterday rather, a couple days ago, Jeff Passan reported that the only logical solution to the Padres' payroll problems was to trade Juan Soto.
Yes.
So while, you could say, I don't think they're going to do it, if they do truly have this problem and they need it to be fixed, this is the solution. So we could definitely see Juan Soto be traded. In that report, Passan also said that the Yankees, Cubs, and the Mariners have the near MLB talent the Padres are looking for, but the Cubs and the Mariners are reluctant to trade that talent. So that made Yankee fans go absolutely bonkers.
Yeah,
Lewis,
and
what do you think?
so the reluctancy from some teams, I think, is a little bit too cautious. It's not every day that you get a guy who might break the record for all time on base percentage. A guy that we can very easily see go out there, hit 35 bombs, be on almost 50% of his at bats. Soto makes a massive impact. And if teams are reluctant to trade their prospects, which more importantly, it's what the Padres are looking for right now is starting pitching. That's just about major league level. And I know, yes, the Yankees have that, the Cubs have that, and the Mariners have that. But like you just said, I understand why the Mariners and the Cubs are less in the. I lost my train of thought. Why they are less enthusiastic about trading away that near MLB level starting pitching, because finding a guy that can start for you for 6 years at a lower price point than what a good starter cost in this league, dime a dozen. Makes sense that the Yankees, especially with right now, as of recording this, Garrett Cole just received his first Cy Young award, and Aaron Judge is still in his prime. The Yankees need to win right now. Who cares if they're going to suck in a few years if they raise a commissioner's trophy in the next 2 years as well? So, makes sense.
Yeah. You look at it, and like you said, the teams might be reluctant just because of what it may cost. And you got to think, you have Juan Soto for only 1 year guaranteed, and that's next season. Do you have to think, would getting Juan Soto be the deal breaker or the make or break in us winning a championship? That's a big thing for these teams, and especially with a team like the Cubs. You say the Padres, you said it, the Padres want starting pitching, and they want not necessarily solidified starting pitching in the majors, they want the pitching prospects. And the Cubs have 3 very good pitching prospects that I think they want to hold on to. I don't think that they maybe think it's worth it to trade those guys to get Soto. Cade Horton, Ben Brown, and Jordan Wicks are all huge prospects for the Cubs. They're expected to be up, in the next year or two. Yeah. So it's really just, do you want to trade these top talents for a guy who you're only guaranteed to have for 1 year? Because you could say we'll sign and then extend him right away. Soto is a Boras client. Boras clients are notoriously impossible to extend. They wait it out and they go to free agency. So that could definitely play a role in teams wanting to trade for him. You know that you probably don't have a chance to extend him.
Honestly, with what I've been seeing, just not even, in terms of what a trade package looks like for Juan Soto, from what you've been seeing from what Soto could possibly get in free agency, it makes me question, is it honestly worth it to even sign him long term if you're a team? Like, if we'll use the Yankees, for example, right? Because I think the Yankees, as you just said, heavily linked to him, and they seem to be the most ready in terms of reports to get rid of a starting pitcher that might be an impact player, or a couple of them. If the Yankees were to sign or trade for Juan Soto, right, and then let him hit the free agent market, yes, his value and what the Nationals offered him at, what was it, $440 million for 14 years of service or 13 years of service, massive amount of money. But you also have to remember that I think outside of right now, I think the only person that could even touch that number is Shohei Ohtani, right? And then after that, you're going to say it's going to be Juan Soto. I don't know how likely it is that he's going to get that massive, big contract at $30, $40, $45 million a season. Yes, he's young, and yes, he's very good. But what team is willing to give that amount of money for it? I definitely see, if you trade for Juan Soto, your plan is to actually not re-sign him or extend him unless it's 3 years or less, 4 years or less. Try to get him through a good bit of his prime. I don't think that there will ever not be a prime Juan Soto with how he approaches the game, but get a few years of him and then cut him loose, because no team is looking at that and saying, oh boy, another $41 million this season to Juan Soto. I don't think any team is going to want to do that, per se.
Hey, there's different ways to look at it. I mean, obviously, the Juan Soto free agent market will be talked about, next season, next off season, because I do think that it's almost guaranteed that he's going to hit free agency. I don't see him signing an extension. When the Nationals offered him that $440 million extension and he declined it, at the time, that was a huge offer. And
it still's a massive offer.
It is a massive offer. AAV wise, it's like 31, 32 million. And I still think Soto thinks he can get more than that per year. But will he ever get $440 million total? I don't think so.
No chance in hell.
It depends on how you look at it. I think if a team does trade for him, they have to be a contender this year. They have to be in a we need to win this year or we might have to rebuild kind of thing. And if that's what the Yankees want, then that's what they'll do. It will definitely take their top pitching prospect, Drew Thorpe. They're definitely going to have to give him up if they want Soto.
Mm-hmm.
And not much else because 1 year of Soto, obviously the package isn't going to be as big as what the Padres paid for him. But you're still going to have to give up top level talent. And at the end of the day, you have to decide if that's worth it. If the Yankees do think that they can win this year, then they might as well go for it.
I want to see a different team come out in terms of being linked to Juan Soto because, yes, as much as it is interesting and entertaining to think about Juan Soto playing in Yankee Stadium, a lefty with that sweet, beautiful swing that'll just hit the short porch. Yeah, he's exactly what they need. But, like, I don't know. I feel like if you're just going to get him for 1 year, there's a lot of other teams that can probably sacrifice it. When I say it, I'm talking about the prospect haul that it's going to take to get him from the Padres. Like, if you're the Astros, for example, and you just missed making it to the World Series. You lose in 7 games to your division rival, your in-state rival, to then watch them go and win the World Series. If I'm the Astros, I'm thinking, how much is Hunter Brown going to impact this organization? Will he impact it more than 1 year of Juan Soto hitting absolute bombs into the right field seats for a year? Like, right. If I'm the Astros, I'm thinking about it. If you're the Rangers, you're thinking about it, of course. The Rangers have been linked to every big name free agent, and they're, all gas, no brakes. Hell, the Cubs should really reconsider what they're doing. The Dodgers, if they want to really try to basically make a new team around Freddie and Mookie, they should look into it. There's so much that's going on.
I don't see the Dodgers doing it. The only other team aside from the ones Passan said in the Yankees, Cubs, and Mariners, the only other team that I really could see going for it is the Boston Red Sox. And that's mainly because I think that the Red Sox should be considered for most available people, not only on the trade market, but most available free agents as well.
I don't know.
We talked about it. We talked about it last week. A new president of baseball ops could go a long way if they actually let him use the money. So for now, I am kind of riding with the high of, he's going to be spending money. He's going to be making moves. He's not just going to come into this organization and stay quiet. So they're always in my head if you want a different team rather than the obvious Dodgers, Yankees, Cubs.
My thing with the Red Sox is that it's not like they have been competitive in the past couple of years. They haven't done too much, which is why, yes, it would be fun to see any team in baseball. Hell, Oakland, go trade for him. Like, just it would be fun to see a trade go down for a superstar of Juan Soto's caliber. Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. Just seeing what the trade is, that's fun. I'm not talking about the season. It would be very boring to watch Soto hit bombs in the Coliseum.
In Oakland.
But I just don't think that the Red Sox are one of those teams that you look at them with Juan Soto and think, oh, yeah, this is going to do some damage. Definitely think that he needs to go to a sure shot contender, a guy that, imagine winning 2 rings before you even hit free agency, the weight that carries and going into a contract talk with any team, holy moly.
But if the Red Sox truly are all in this year and are willing to spend money, the Soto trade could be worth it at the end of the day, depending on who else they get. I'm not saying it would definitely be worth it, but depending on who they get.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. The Red Sox are the most interesting head case in terms of free agency and what they want to do because their ownership group also owns a bunch of other sports teams that they consider more valuable. I was just talking to someone the other day that I believe they own Liverpool, which is in the Premier League for soccer in Europe. They spent like 80-something million on like 2 or 3 midfielders. Like they're spending a boatload of money on their soccer team. How much money are they willing to allocate to their baseball team to be as competitive as they are in their soccer league, in the Premier League, excuse me.
That just all depends on, what they're willing to spend and what they're willing to let the Red Sox spend. That's literally all it depends on. And I think right now I'm just kind of riding the high, and I'm not really ruling them out yet until we start to see free agents sign and they're like, Corey Kluber's back for a year. It's like, oh,
what's going on?
I thought we were spending money.
Yeah.
So until I see something like that happen, I am going to keep the Red Sox in contention, just solely based on the fact of getting a new president of baseball ops and then not letting him do anything. What would be the point? Just keep the old one at that point. Unless you're literally just doing it to make your fans not complain anymore.
Yeah, that could be
That's
it.
the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of teams that are looking to compete, and I think one of them that still wants to compete actually was in the playoffs this year. The Milwaukee Brewers won the NL Central, and guess what? They finally hired a new manager. Congratulations to Pat Murphy, bench coach for the last 8 seasons in Milwaukee, now stepping up to the plate, and he's the new manager of the Brewers. Congratulations to Pat. Round of applause, round of applause.
I love this. I absolutely love this. And I can explain to you why if you'd like.
Please do. I got all the time in the world.
So, Pat Murphy, not only has he been the Brewers bench coach for the last however many years, since 2016. Excuse me. Before that, he was with the Padres from 2010 to 2015, and he was their interim manager for a brief stint in 2015 towards the end of the season. But that's not what I'm looking at in terms of the fact that I like this hire. I'm looking at him being the manager of Notre Dame baseball from 1988 to 1994 and the manager of Arizona State baseball from 1995 to 2009. He made 4 College World Series with Arizona State, and he was very successful in both places. He actually coached Craig Counsell at Notre Dame, who he took his spot. I think that experience is big, and it's not like you're just hiring a bench coach who was a third base coach and worked with the good managers. You're hiring a guy who not only worked with good managers, but knows the team because he was the bench coach and was a manager for close to 20 years, 19 years. Yes, at the college level, but you're still a manager in baseball. And it's not like a little league, it's not high school. It's college baseball, and you coach in the World Series, College World Series. I really like it. I think for a lot of different reasons, it was the obvious replacement, just make the bench coach, but I think it was the right choice. It was a good choice.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was the right choice and a good choice at that. Pat Murphy filling into the Brewers organization is important because over the last few years, we've seen Craig Counsell and the way that he's managed the team and the way that he has bobbed and weaved through difficult situations, both in the regular season and the postseason. And now losing that baseball mind, losing Craig Counsell to the Cubs, which, we talked about that already, is difficult. But then finding someone to fill the shoes, you have to look at the right-hand man. You have to go to the bench coach. If they hired from outside, I mean, it would have been funny if they brought in David Ross, but...
Oh my God, that would have been hilarious.
But yeah, would have been funny.
Not the right move.
Right. It's just so not the right move. You have to go with the guy who's seen it, seen how the machine works. You don't want to put a child behind the wheel of a motor vehicle. You want to put the guy who's been driving for 30 years behind a motor vehicle. And I think that's the way that the Brewers are approaching this. Pat Murphy is going to do a spectacular job in Milwaukee. I'm not going to guarantee that they're going to win the Central again because, what the hell's going on in the Midwest of this country? Who knows in terms of baseball? But I think that they're lining themselves up for a very, very good shot at repeating as division champs with Pat Murphy.
You mentioned David Ross. They didn't want to sign him. David Ross does want to be a manager.
Yes, he does.
He probably went to them and was like, hey, I can do it. And they were probably like, no.
And another team that also approached David Ross was the Yankees to be their bench coach. And David Ross had straight up said to them, no, I think I'm still a manager in this league and want to continue managing this league. Perfect move out of David Ross. However, you know, what other opportunities will he have to coach in a
Well,
situation that he's best in? I don't know.
well, we're gonna talk about the other teams that got new managers, but the only team left that does not have a manager is the San Diego Padres. So that's his last chance this season to just jump into a manager role. And I do think that, if the Padres wind up hiring someone else, I haven't really seen Ross linked to the Padres all that much. I think if he doesn't get that Padres job, he might just wind up joining the Yankees, unless he just waits a year and sees what opens up next.
I don't know. I could also see him. He's a great baseball mind. I could see him doing broadcasting until another opportunity arises. But if
Yeah.
he does
Oh,
somehow get linked to the Padres, I think that's their guy. The second any report comes out about it, I think the Padres are like, yep, that's our guy. That's who we're going with. Let's try to do something interesting because God knows we didn't do anything good in 2023.
the thought did the ooh, the thought did the thought did cross my mind of what if he did what Craig Counsell did to him, and it was just some random, like, no one expected it. But I just can't see that happening for David Ross. You know what I
No.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he's the type of manager that you fire your current manager for.
No, because he's
So
not the cream de la crop. He's definitely better than nothing,
he's a
or a
player
lot of
guy.
these. Yeah, he's a player's guy. He's middle of the road in terms of manager. Like if you told me that he was the 15th best manager, I completely agree with you.
Yeah. But he did not get that Brewers job. Pat Murphy did.
Yeah.
Pat Murphy, by the way, he has some stuff to work with there in Milwaukee. You mentioned the Brewers were in the playoffs last season. They have been to the playoffs in 5 of the last 6 seasons. They were one win away from the World Series in 2018. But now it seems like they might be ramping up to blow it all up and rebuild.
Yeah.
They made they announced, I guess, at the GM meetings, they said that every player is open to be traded, which sounds to me like they are pretty ready to just hit the reset button. Obviously, the biggest name being Corbin Burns, the most likely to be traded kind of guy. So
Yeah.
what do you think the Brewers' next step is? What do you think their off season is gonna look like?
So I agree with you that Corbin Burns is the big guy, the big fish. If you're a team looking to trade with the Brewers, the first one that after you pick up the phone, make that call, say, hey, what do you want for Corbin Burns? However, you have to look at the rest of this lineup, this roster. William Contreras, catcher, 25 years old, just played an absolutely spectacular season in Milwaukee, which
He did.
could not be more proud of
Underrated.
him, and he deserved it. Yeah, definitely underrated. And then after those two guys, the next best name, which I think is the most likely to get moved, call this a prediction, Devin Williams, out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
Been their closer since Josh Hader got traded to the Padres a couple of years ago. And man, oh man, if you want to talk about guys stepping up to the plate, guess what? Devin Williams is your guy. I literally have it in my notes that Devin Williams and William Contreras, are the two most likely names to get moved just because of how good they are in Milwaukee. If Devin Williams were to go to the Dodgers, oh my God, you're talking about an absolutely star-studded team at that point where you only have to
Yeah.
play 8 innings of baseball. Guess what? There's only one other team in baseball that has to worry about the first 8 innings and not worry about the ninth, and that's the Mets, with Edwin Diaz coming back completely healthy next season. You know, Devin Williams is a piece to be had, and I will be very interested to see if they move him and what they get back in return for a guy who I think is only in his third year of arbitration, second year of arbitration. I can take a look actually.
This is his first year of arbitration.
Yeah, so
He
first year of arbitration, which is even better.
he becomes a free agent 2026. So
Wow.
I think if the Brewers were to move Devin Williams, were to move William Contreras, that would mean that they are fully blowing it up.
Yes, which
Moving a
means
guy like moving a guy like Corbin Burns doesn't really mean you're fully blowing it up, because Corbin Burns is a free agent after the season, and he's already voiced that he probably won't be re-signing or signing an extension, so you might as well get rid of him. I think, when they trade Corbin Burns, because it's bound to happen this offseason, I don't think that'll be the point where I say, oh, the Brewers are blowing it up. Once they trade a guy like Devin Williams or even Yelly or William Contreras, that's when you start to say, wow, they are just they're hitting the reset.
Yeah, yeah. Another guy to look out for. I think that we should very respectfully put him in that tier with Wilson Contreras, Devin Williams, Christian Yelich, Willie Adames, their
William,
shortstop.
you said Wilson Contreras.
Oh, excuse me, William Contreras. Another guy that we should definitely put in that tier is Willie Adames. You know, great shortstop. If it were not for one injury that he had, like midway through the season, he would have probably played all 162. Yes, his numbers were a little down, but I still think that in the right situation, Willie Adames can really thrive. So if he is to get traded, I think that's another telltale sign of the Brewers waving the white flag.
Yeah, I agree. Any of their big guys, once we see them go, well, we'll know when we know. It's one of those things. Like, you'll know once the Brewers do decide to blow it up.
Yeah, you will. And it'll be interesting to see.
They have made a trade already, the Brewers.
They have.
They acquired infielder Oliver Dunn from the Phillies in exchange for minor leaguers Robert Moore and Henry Mendez. Oliver Dunn is also a minor leaguer. And this trade kind of impressed me from the Brewers. I didn't look at the stats of the guys they traded, but I looked at Oliver Dunn's stats. And in 2023, he was in Double-A for the Phillies all year. He hit 271 with a 902 OPS. 82 walk. He had a 396 on-base percentage. 82 walks, 21 homers, 4 triples, 27 doubles, 16 stolen bases. He kind of just did a little bit of everything. He had speed, he had power, he had really good plate discipline. It reminds me of a obviously, I'm not trying to say no direct comparison here, but if you're talking skill set, Fernando Tatis kind of guy.
Okay.
But with more plate discipline.
Which is a scary thought.
That's like Soto. It's like Soto and Tatis combined. I'm not trying to compare him to a combined version of Soto and Tatis. I'm just saying if you look at the skill set from Double-A, mind you, that's what I would compare him to if he did that in the major leagues.
Yeah, it was very funny the way that a lot of reporters and news outlets were speaking about this trade of like, oh yeah, whatever, Brewers and what was it, Mariners? Excuse me, who was it?
Phillies.
Brewers and Phillies. Excuse me, making this trade, whatever, no big deal, clearing up for the Rule 5 draft and 40-man roster and all that. Actually, a very good deal when you just look at the numbers. The other two guys in the trade were, I don't want to say of similar caliber. One of them was I believe in AAA, but they just it kind of looks like it makes sense. None of them have touched the major leagues yet, so everybody's kind of at the same value-wise, barring, of course, there being some all-time great there. But I think it was a very good trade if this prospect that the Brewers got in return, Oliver Dunn, can really be something for them. It'll be interesting to see.
Dare I mention, this is kind of the stat that made me say wow the most from this guy, from Dunn.
Right.
In 19 games in the Fall League, the Arizona Fall League this season, 2023, he hit 343, but that's not even the craziest part. He had 12 steals and 4 triples in 19 games. 12 steals in 19 games.
Which is absolutely absurd.
That's some serious speed. You can say he was stealing off probably not MLB caliber catchers, but you got to have speed to steal 12 bases in 19.
When you got wheels, you got wheels. No getting around that one.
I am excited to see whenever this guy comes up because I will remember his name, and I am excited to see him make it to the majors.
Yeah, you told me before the episode started that you actually wanted to get his name tattooed on your leg. Very big commitment for you.
Leg. First name, last name.
That would be an all-timer right there. But yeah,
that would be it. I need to get his signature.
Yeah, you should remember the name because it would be cool to see if he pans out and does whatever the Brewers need him to do moving forward. If he does crack the major leagues, it'd be cool. I'm there.
It would be kind of cool. Hope maybe he'll be there. he'll be a big part of the Brewers rebuild that we see.
Yeah, for sure.
New manager, rebuild the team, have some fun. A team that did get a new manager but is certainly not rebuilding is the big bad Houston Astros in the AL West.
Yeah.
They promoted their bench coach, Joe Espada, to be the team's next manager, take over for Dusty Baker, who retired after the conclusion of the ALCS after they got bounced by the Rangers. Espada he became their bench coach in 2018. He replaced actually Alex Cora, who went on to do really big things managing after being the Astros bench coach. He knows the players, knows the team, so similar to Pat Murphy in that sense. He's gotten to work with two really incredible managers in AJ Hinch and Dusty Baker. And I'm excited. What do you think of this, Liz?
So, right off the bat, of course, I think I said it already, but congratulations to Dusty Baker on retirement. Big thing. But for the new manager, I almost said Ron Washington. For Joe, how do you say his last name?
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Espada?
Espada. For Joe Espada, I think it's perfect because not only did he learn from two great managers in AJ Hinch and Dusty Baker, but bench coach sat there, watched everything that Dusty did, probably had a lot of good conversations about why he was making pitching changes, why he was pinch hitting late in games. I believe Joe Espada was a big reason why John Singleton pinch hit in that, what was it, game 5? Yeah, game 5 of the ALCS. Like, he was a big reason as to why John Singleton got that AB. Just another good signing because of it being a bench coach, of a guy who's been around the system, who knows how it works. And let's be real, I genuinely think that you could put a 15-year-old into that manager position and the Astros will find a way to win 100 games. I'm going to be very serious with you. It's the I think it's one of the easiest jobs in baseball right now, is being the Astros manager.
In a position to succeed. Hopefully he starts Yainer Diaz next season every game.
I hope so.
That was big problem the Astros fans had with Dusty this year is that he just refused to give Yainer Diaz consistent starts.
I mean, to hell with the whole thing of pitchers being like, oh, I want to only pitch to this guy because me and him have a connection. Then build a connection from the day pitchers and catchers report. Build a connection with the guy who you know is going to bat 280 and hit 40 bombs for you, instead of the guy who bats sub 200 and maybe once or twice a week hits a ground out to shortstop. Like, shut the fuck up and pitch to the player who you know is going to benefit your team more. I don't really care about that personal connection at that point. You're a team that is poised to win, and the fact that you have a damn near automatic out in your lineup in Game 7 of the ALCS, kind of ridiculous.
You can also build a connection with a guy. You can't just magically make a 180 hitter a 280 hitter.
Right. That's what I said at the top of the spiel.
No, I'm agreeing. I'm saying it's just. Anyway, back to Espada. Sorry for the Yainer Diaz tangent, but Espada, he was a coach in the Marlins system for a while, since 2006. He was their third base coach since 2010. Then he spent 4 seasons with the Yankees as a scout and a third base coach. So he's been around the league. He knows what he's doing, and like we said, he's been with the Astros. He knows the guys. And it's not like the Astros have had a ton of new players come in, and it's not like they will be having a ton of new players come in this offseason. So that means he's going to know most of the guys that are on the team next year. Another signing that, he's in a position to succeed with that Astros lineup, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm interested to see what his objectives are going into this upcoming season in terms of who he wants to start, how he wants to work his rotation, his lineup, his bullpen throughout the year. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, we know he's going to be in a position to succeed next year, but the years after that are currently uncertain. The Astros have 2 core players up for free agency, not this season, but next season. And this offseason is the time where you start to say, can we extend these guys and have them for the future? And those 2 guys are Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman, both free agents after next season. Both, obviously, you're looking to extend right now because they are key pieces of the Astros team.
Yeah, you need to extend those 2 guys. from reports, right? Not to cut you off or steal your spotlight
Go for
here.
it. Go for it.
From reports, basically Houston is willing to open the checkbook and give whatever Altuve wants. They want him to be an Astros lifer. He was the first domino in the effect of what we now have been referencing for 2 or 3 years almost as the big bad Astros. It's been headlined by Jose Altuve. The other guy, Alex Bregman, yes, they want to keep him in Houston, but we know that Houston does not have this unlimited money pool like the Dodgers might have or like what the Mets might have. So I don't know how likely it is that they're going to be able to extend both. And if they're going to let one walk, I think it's no questions asked. You get rid of Bregman. And it would be interesting to see who is going to not only pick up Alex Bregman and give him the money that he is more than rightfully deserved as one of the premier third basemen in this league, but also who is going to fill Alex Bregman's shoes at the hot corner in Houston. When you look at their prospect list, you really don't see anyone jumping off the page. Their highest ranked third baseman is their number 5 prospect in their system, Zach DiZenzo, who third baseman, second baseman in Double A at 23 years old, which if you don't look at, like, you can look at the stats and I'll read them off to you here. It's not bad. He batted last year over the course of high A and Double A. He batted 304 with a 914 OPS. But you have to remember that he's doing it at a lower level than Major League. So, how much are you going to bank on him succeeding moving forward? I don't know. If I were Jim Crane and the Astros, I would definitely say right now, extend them both. It doesn't matter because as long as you have Altuve and Bregman, your championship window's open. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I think both of these guys are core parts of their team, and you can't really just bank on a young prospect being the next Alex Bregman when you have Alex Bregman on your team. I think an issue with the whole extension thing, we talked about it earlier, they're both Boras clients. So extending a Boras client is next to impossible.
That's like jumping in one fell swoop from Earth to the moon. It's not possible.
Right. And Altuve has to be an Astros for life. No, he has to be an Astros lifer.
He would have to be. I feel like Altuve would almost retire.
And I just can't imagine.
Yeah, I think Altuve would rather retire than go play for another organization. Bregman, I can definitely see Bregman and Scott Boras kind of sitting in a meeting, twiddling their fingers, waiting patiently for Jim Crane to call and match whatever offer they get, and that call never comes, and Alex Bregman winds up going somewhere else. Guess what, though? Jose Altuve will be an Astro. I'm willing to bet my life on it.
You can shoe in Altuve to stay with the Astros. Bregman, he does seem like one of those guys who's like, listen, I've been here 8 years, yes, but I'm still 29 years old. I am far from thinking about retirement. I'm gonna go to the place that's offering me what I want. You know what I mean? So,
and with the way that baseball and medicine is today, we could see Alex Bregman transition into first base and then eventually DH later in his career. And then you're talking about a guy who hit free agency at 30, playing until he's 40 or later. Like, Alex Bregman has the skill set, the mindset, and the physical capability to play for a very long time. And he already got underpaid. What was it? 8 years, $100 million. He got underpaid for his production, or 7 years for $100 million.
5 years.
5 years, excuse me. But even then, underpaid for what type of production Alex Bregman has on a day in and day out basis. He's going to go somewhere where he gets paid a lot of money, and there's going to be teams that want him. We'll talk about it next offseason if they don't get contract extensions, and it'll be fun to see.
Yeah, and it's important that the Astros stay good for as long as they can because Ron Washington and the Los Angeles Angels are coming for the AL West.
Yeah.
Ron Washington was hired by the Angels to be their next manager, take over for Phil Nevin, replace Phil Nevin, not necessarily take over for. He managed the Rangers for 8 seasons, made 2 World Series in 2010 and 2011. Mm-hmm. He's been the Braves' third base coach for like the last 7 years, and he's been one of the most beloved guys in not just the Braves fandom, but honestly in all of baseball. People
I've
see him
loved it.
doing those infield. People see him doing those infield drills before the game,
Whoa,
and
whoa, 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 whoa. Timeout. They're not called infield drills. They're called Ron drills. All right?
okay,
Continue.
people see him doing the Ron drills before the game. Even at the All-Star game, he was doing them with people that weren't even on the Braves. It's just a fun drill to do. It's a good drill to do. But that's besides the point. Veteran manager, a leader. This Angels team needed a good manager. They've been looking for it for a long time. He's their fifth manager in their last 7 seasons. I think this is a great hire. You can't go wrong with a veteran manager like Ron Washington, who wants to win. I'll let you talk about his press conference.
No, you cannot go wrong with bringing in a guy like Ron Washington. He definitely deserves a second chance after his last year of managing full time for a team was 2014 with the Rangers. Yes, they did make back-to-back World Series, wound up not winning one of them, no, either one of them, excuse me. But that's the way that the baseball rolls, type of thing. In terms of his press conference, oh my God, the way that he was standing up there at that podium, donning the Angels jersey, which if you showed that to a Braves fan in what like in June of 2021, people would think that you just are very good at Photoshop. But you're looking at it and you're like, this guy, excuse me, not looking at it, you're listening to him speak. You're like, this guy could get me to run through a wall. We already know, and you and I said this privately before over the phone, we know the Angels are going to be bad. It's a guarantee. They're losing Ohtani. They don't have everything that they could possibly want. It's a bad look for them. Yeah, that's how they roll. But if you told me they're going to win the World Series this year, I believe you, because Ron Washington in his press conference had me ready to put my head straight through this wall. If Ron Washington needed me to run through this wall, I could get it done after the way that he was talking. Do you have the exact quote for what he said?
I could find it.
Yeah, he said something along the lines of, hey, we're going to dominate the AL West. Take that to the bank and cash it or deposit it, whatever he said. And the way he said it was...
He said, our whole focus will be to run the West down. You could take that to the bank and deposit it.
Yep. And just the way that he speaks about the game of baseball has me more than excited. I cannot believe I'm saying this right now when I believe I made the claim halfway through last year or when Shohei Ohtani got injured last year. I said I never wanted to watch an Angels game again until they were competitive. I'm going to watch it just to see how these players play when they're being coached by Ron Washington, who seems like he's ready to take these guys to war, not into a ball game.
I do want to say, if you haven't watched that press conference, go watch at least what the Angels posted. The Angels posted just a little clip from it, and they edited it a little bit. It was just really cool. And it made me excited that Ron Washington is the manager of this team because it seemed like, excuse me.
Bless you.
It seemed like just because they didn't necessarily have Shohei Ohtani anymore, and just because they haven't been that dominant team in the AL West, means nothing to him. All that matters to him is now he's the manager. He is going to do everything he can with the team that he is given to succeed. And it was really cool to see.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what the Angels can do to at least field a competent team around what Ron Washington wants to do. It's a lot of fun. Congratulations to Ron Washington on the new managerial role. Congratulations to the Angels on getting Ron Washington into Anaheim. I'm excited. And with that being said, how excited can you be when not only are you losing one superstar for sure in Shohei Ohtani, with the way that things are going, could they be losing a second?
Yeah, obviously you're talking about Mike Trout, center fielder, arguably one of the best to ever play the game of baseball.
Yes.
There were trade rumors spiraling. Not necessarily trade rumors in terms of where he was going to go, more of trade rumors in terms of the Angels saying, maybe we'll trade him, but maybe, sure.
Yeah. It's not often in pro sports that
Sorry, I'm on my flu game today. So
yeah.
I keep
I understand. it's not often in baseball, or in any sport, I should say, that you see players get these get out of jail free opportunities when a fan base won't hate them for saying, hey, I don't want to play here anymore. Last we saw was, I believe, Damian Lillard in Portland with the Trailblazers. Everyone gave him a pass and was like, dude, get the hell out of there. Now it's Mike Trout's turn. It's been 13 seasons, 11 seasons. It's been way too long of a time for Trout to only have three playoff games. Excuse me, two playoff games? Three playoff games under his belt, and no playoff game wins. Too small for, I believe, at this point we can say consensus top 10 player in baseball history. Like, Mike Trout is a spectacular, once-in-a-lifetime type of player, and the fact that we are not getting to see him compete at the highest level is heartbreaking. And then you see guys like Bryce Harper, who got out, went to a different city, went to Philadelphia, and Trout is right from around there. It's like almost like Harper's living Mike Trout's dream type of thing. You know, you see it all around the league of guys succeeding in other places that are not Anaheim, and Trout just wants to sit there and collect a check and live it up in the California sun. I mean, hats off to you if that's what you want to do, but all of the baseball world wants to see you compete.
I gotta say, I think that might be what Trout wants to do. And if it's not, I don't think the Angels are in any market to trade him. I know the rumors were going along, but I'm not buying into them. I think there's a slim to none chance. The way I see it is if the Angels thought that they had a chance to win the World Series last year, which is why they didn't trade Ohtani, which is why they went out and got Lucas Giolito, which is why they went out and didn't sell at the trade deadline. If they truly thought that they were World Series contenders last year and didn't capitalize on the opportunity to trade Ohtani, even if you didn't get the exact deal you wanted, anything would be better than just letting him walk in free agency, and they didn't do that. I can't imagine them trading Mike Trout. They care more about money and having that superstar player and being able to sell those jerseys than actually.
It's not so much even the Angels organization. It's just their owner, Artie Moreno, who, in my very humble opinion, needs to be locked in a room and taught what is going on with his team, the Los Angeles Angels, because I feel like he's seen one thing and the result on the field year in and year out is complete opposite. He has turned his back on the media since originally buying the Angels way back when, and it just feels like he doesn't even enjoy owning the team anymore. Yeah, he's going to write the checks and everything because he has the money for it, but do right by one of the greatest ball players of all time. If I'm Mike Trout, I'm wherever I am right now. I'm booking a flight, getting to Anaheim tomorrow. I'm walking into Artie Moreno's office and saying, dude, listen, I understand what you want to do here, and I respect that out of you. If you trade me, you can get pieces that will last longer than whatever is left of my contract when we're not competing. Like, there's an argument, there's such a great argument to be made for getting rid of Trout, or I shouldn't say it like that. Getting rid of Trout sounds wrong, but for trading Trout away, there's a great argument for it, and I really think the Angels should explore it if they want to eventually be competitive, because they're not going to be competitive in the next 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider. Obviously, I don't think it's really been mentioned since the offseason started, but it definitely is something just to keep in the back of your mind, to not be absolutely blindsided by it. It did come up somewhere towards the end of the season this year, so it's not like it would be the first time it's been mentioned by the Angels themselves. So, yeah, Mike Trout.
Yeah, Mike Trout, please, I'm betting you, for the love of God, go anywhere that is not Anaheim. Hell, dude, put him on the Royals. Him and Bobby Witt.
Go anywhere. It's not his choice. He's not going anywhere.
If he walked into that front office tomorrow and said, "Hey, I want to go play for the Chicago White Sox," they'd figure out a way to get him to Chicago. I think they would.
The Angels, big Tim Anderson fans.
Yeah, for some reason. Good for them, I guess.
They've expressed heavy interest in free agent shortstop Tim Anderson. He had the lowest qualified OPS in baseball last year. Yeah. First ever member of the 1-1 club. one home run, one TKO. And when I say TKO, he wasn't the one doing the TKO. He was the one getting TKO'd.
Yeah. To follow that, I will
First member
say,
1-1.
yeah, he is. I will say Tim Anderson does deserve a second chance. I don't know what was up with him this
I agree.
season. We saw one of the, like you just said, worst hitter in all of baseball. Like it was really bad. If the Angels are willing to give him a 2-year deal that's short, sweet, simple, to the point, like, hey, get on your feet, we'll give you the qualifying offer before you leave, and then when you sign somewhere else, like we just get the draft compensation, we're here for it. Because Tim Anderson is a starting shortstop or second baseman in this league, and last year he did not show that. And I think the best place to do it would be Anaheim. I doubt that any real other team is expressing enough interest in him to bring him back. So we'll just wait and see.
It would be like a Cody Bellinger type situation.
Yeah,
They'll
not
give
to
him
the
a
same
1-year
dollar
deal.
amount, but yeah,
No, but
same
just in
concept.
terms of they'll give him a 1-year deal. If he proves himself, then he'll go out and get a bigger contract. And if he doesn't, then
You'll
he's
be
a slash pants.
yeah, you'll be in the history book somewhere.
It,
The 1-1
he'll
club.
definitely be the 1-1 club and the Field of Dreams homer. And I love Tim Anderson. No, I'm speaking. I shouldn't be speaking. So sorry. I shouldn't be speaking. I shouldn't be speaking like I don't love Tim Anderson. I do. And during that 2019 season, during that 2021 season, when he was the bat flipping, let the kids play Tim Anderson, I loved him.
Yeah,
And not to say I didn't love him last year, but obviously with the way he was
it
playing,
was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch just because of what I knew he used to be as a player. And I'm really hoping that he can go somewhere, maybe Anaheim. If he goes to Anaheim, oh my God, what did I just say? If he goes to Anaheim, I don't think he'll be playing shortstop. I think that's Neto's job for the foreseeable future. So
Put him at
we'll
second
see if
base.
we'll see what he can do in Anaheim if he goes there.
Yeah.
This isn't official.
One thing.
No matter where he goes, I want to see what he can do, and I want to see him do good.
Yeah, one thing that I think I know, at least personally, I loved was this season, the 2023 season, was the first season which we had a pitch clock implemented, right? However, it's already being reported by Jeff Passan and a lot of other reporters that the MLB wants to change up the pitch clock a little bit. Alex, do you have the information on what they want to change about the pitch clock? Oh, you're muted. He's muted, chat.
So sorry. I do actually have that information. Like I said, my fault again. I'm in my flu game right now.
I can tell.
I'm in my flu. This is my flu game. I'm performing. The pitch clock, yes, is a fairly new thing. And when I say fairly new, last season was the first season with it. They're already suggesting adjustments. MLB's competition committee has proposed reducing the pitch clock with runners on base from 20 seconds to 18 seconds. So originally, you have 20 seconds if there's a runner on base to throw the pitch. Now they're suggesting to change it to 18 seconds until you have to throw the pitch.
Nope. Just straight up, I'm begging everyone to not do this.
I agree. I don't really see the point because
I see the point, but then it takes away from a competitive aspect of baseball.
Okay, so we both disagree, but I think we disagree for different reasons. I disagree more because think of how much the pitch clock sped up baseball this season. It changed the average game time from almost 3.5 hours to below 3 hours. What's the extra 2 seconds going to do?
Nothing much. I understand the thought process of wanting to speed up the game a little bit more with the runner on base, but the beauty of baseball is that there is that competition between a pitcher and the runner on first, or the catcher and that runner on first. If the pitcher is speeding up his delivery already last season, we saw there were some pitchers who could not adjust to it. Alek Manoah of the Toronto Blue Jays could not figure out how to pitch with runners on base with the pitch clock. And it happens. There are difficulties throughout all of baseball for a bunch of different players, and it sucks, but whatever. And then to now, after the season, see Ronald Acuna Jr. stole 73 bases. Stolen base numbers were beyond skyrocketing high. We saw guys just absolutely dominate the pitcher catcher duel, or excuse me, catcher runner duel. Like, we saw stuff like that. And then to make the pitcher now speed up even more is going to take him off his game more. I would be willing to bet that if this does get put into effect, we see a lot more balls thrown with runners on first who have potential steal. If Ronald Acuna Jr. is on first, whoever is batting behind him in the lineup, I would be willing to, every single at bat, as long as Acuna is on first base, be willing to bet that the next batter up would walk, because you don't have enough time to check the pitcher, get the sign, check the runner, blah, 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 and then before you know it, pitch clock violation, ball one. It's like,
I mean, it is 18 seconds as opposed to 20.
But even in the postseason, which when baseball was on its biggest stage, that pitch clock was getting down to 3, 2, 1 second before the pitcher started winding up. Getting rid of those extra 2 seconds is not a good look for the game of baseball.
Right. I think that what they looked at to change the stat, the competitive competition committee, what they looked at was how many more times would a pitch clock they looked at it one or two ways. How many times would a pitch clock violation have been called if it was 18 seconds? Would it have been a lot more? And if it was, that would force guys to speed up the game, incredibly speed up the game. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. What's the other
Because
way?
if you have the start of the season and guys are starting to get called for a bunch of pitch clock violations because it's 18 seconds as opposed to 20, they're going to have to speed up. They have no choice. The other thing that they could have looked at was how many violations were caused in the 20 seconds and how many times was the pitch thrown before 18 seconds anyway. Like, if there was minimal times that a pitch clock violation was called at 18 seconds, what would be the difference in changing it at that point? Does that make sense?
It does. It does. However, I just don't know if this was them looking at what went on the field, or was it them saying, hey, we can save an extra 3-4 minutes on a game that we consider downtime. Like I wish that there was some form of news outlet that was able to sit in on this meeting to tell the world why they want to do it, because right now they're leaving everyone up to guessing why they want to do this.
To give them the benefit of the doubt, or play devil's advocate, maybe, whatever you want to say, I don't think that this was just we might as well just make it 18 seconds. I think that there was thought put into this, and there was some numbers. I think that there was a well thought out reason to propose this. I don't think it was just simply, let's just make it 18. Like, why don't we just make it 18? I don't think that was the reason. I think that something else went into it.
But definitely leave it at 20.
Whether that was a good thing or a bad thing is up for debate. But yeah, I would agree. Just leave it at 20.
Leave it at 20.
It
worked too well.
So well. Keep rolling.
Worked too well, and there has not yet been a team or a player or a pitcher that has figured out a way to exploit how the pitch clock works. So
exploit. It's a timer.
Right. Like, obviously, there are ways to stop it and all that type of stuff. But until we see a player actually figure out a way to alter the advantage of that coin flip, that 50-50 matchup between pitcher and runner, pitcher and hitter, catcher and runner, until we see someone actually figure out how to cheat the system or give themselves a better advantage, leave it exactly how it is. Because right now it does not look like there's any way to make it more balanced, fair, competitive than what we saw in the 2023 season.
Yeah, the disengagement rule was kind of MLB's way of trying to not exploit the pitch clock. Because yes, you could disengage to reset the pitch clock, but you can only do it a certain amount of times. So that was kind of the combat. Just leave it at 20. Let it be. It was good.
Yeah.
That's my... The last thing we have involves a couple of free agents, more specifically, free agent pitching.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis, do you wanna elaborate?
Yeah, there are plenty of great starting pitchers on the market this offseason, and we're both, and I say when I say we are, I mean both Alex and I are interested to see what teams look into these starting pitchers and say, hey, they're worth a contract. Because although the entirety of the the free agent market, is not too deep, the starting pitching free agent market is wildly deep. You have guys like Sonny Gray and Blake Snell, who Blake Snell just won the National League Cy Young, seventh player ever in baseball history to win it in both the American League and the National League. You have Sonny Gray, finished top three in Cy Young voting in the American League. Then you have a guy like Aaron Nola and Jordan Montgomery, two guys who were crucial in their team's postseason success. I'm interested to see what goes on with a lot of these guys, and one team that I think you and I can both agree on needing pitching desperately more than anything else that you could possibly add in free agency is the Braves. And the Braves have already been linked to Aaron Nola and Blake Snell. But if you're the Braves, do you need one starting pitcher or do you need two? I think they need two.
Yeah, it depends, I guess. I'm always the type of guy to say, when can you have too many starting pitchers? That's a good problem to have.
Well, the Braves cannot afford to have that problem. I think it's very well known that
I
that whole $22 million thing is how the Braves are trying to build their team, which is why if they were to go over that limit per se, I think it would only be for one or two pitchers. But
right.
which
Well, I'm not saying they're going to go out and sign 5 free agent starters.
right, but
That's not what I'm trying to say.
do
Just
you
saying,
think
like,
that this
two
is
pitchers can't hurt.
right? So is this if you were the Braves, right? You just lost to the Phillies for the second year in a row in the NLDS because your starting pitching failed you. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Last year was Spencer Strider, who got absolutely torched. This year was Strider a little bit, as well as Bryce Elder, a guy who's never been there before. Do you break open the vault and pay for a Blake Snell and an Aaron Nola, or do you take the wild card? Do you think about maybe like a Luis Severino? What do
Yes,
you
that's
think these
interesting.
teams are going to do?
That puts it more on how much money they're willing to spend. I think Michael Waka is a guy you want to look at. Seth Lugo is a guy you want to look at if you're talking about maybe more on the cheap side. Obviously, Michael Waka or Seth Lugo is not going to get as much money as Blake Snell or Aaron Nola. So if you want to look to that side, you can. And if you're not even talking about starting pitching, Josh Hader is a free agent. And the Braves with Josh Hader, I mean, well,
Count me completely out if I'm any other team having to face that bullpen for what 4 innings and then seeing Josh Hader come in for the ninth. Oh my God, that's scary.
yeah,
But
I'm out. I'm out.
then again, any other team could be in that game by the time that Josh Hader comes in, just because their starting pitching is not up to par with the rest of their team. And that's why you give praise to all these organizations that have built dynasties like the Astros, like the old, late 90s Yankees, because guess what? Their entire team from start to finish was what you needed to do to win a ball game type of players and in terms of talent and all that. And the Braves are the closest thing that we have to a real, like, sort of like Yankees dynasty potential in the terms of they have all their guys locked up. They're all really good. They're all really young and they're willing to compete. But guess what? Their starting pitching is failing them, especially towards the end of the
Yeah.
season. Yeah, Bryce Elder, it was a really cool story, but he used up his whole arm throughout the entirety of the season, got to the postseason, and guess what? The lights were too bright. He turned into
Yeah.
Dracula. He wanted to sit in the corner with no light whatsoever. And that's what's going to happen unless you go get a guy like Blake Snell or a guy like Aaron Nola. And I hate to
Will
single out
Smith.
the Braves here. Yes, or Will Smith. And I hate to single out the Braves here, but there are a lot of other teams that need that really good, reliable arm throughout the entire season. The Cardinals, 2022, we saw them compete. We saw them make a wild card. They lost to the red hot Phillies, where it was almost destined at that point that it felt like the Cardinals were going to win, and then the Phillies caught fire because guess what? The Cardinals starting pitching was not good. And it was exposed after a very long season in a very, very competitive environment. And that's simply what is going to happen year after year after year if these teams do not go out and spend big money on these free agent pitchers that they know can lock it down most when it matters. Blake Snell, Game 6 of the 2020 World Series. Yes, Kevin Cash pulled him too early, but he dominated that game. That is all I would need to see as a GM to be like, hey, Blake Snell, give me your number. I'll meet it. Let's do it.
If you want to build a championship team, you're going to have starting pitching. It's been evident the past however many years. You can not just rely on bullpen games during the playoffs. You need
Against good
starting
teams.
pitchers.
Bless you.
Right, against good teams.
Yeah, it's one thing to do a bullpen game against the Oakland Athletics on a getaway day. It's another thing to do it against the Houston Astros in game 4 was the bullpen game for the Rangers. Like, there's levels to a bullpen, and sometimes people need to realize that it doesn't matter how good your bullpen is. If you're losing by the time your starter gets pulled, you might just wind up losing that game anyway.
Yeah, again, I agree. I was going to go back to the Braves. I don't have a full answer for you for the Braves as specifically who they would get if they were to get two guys. I just wanted to talk more about the free agent market for pitchers in general. Just name some of the guys that are on the free agent market.
Yeah, please do.
Because I think Kershaw, obviously we might know where he's going, but Aaron Nola, Blake Snell, Eduardo Rodriguez, Sonny Gray, Jordan Montgomery, Michael Wacha, Josh Hader, Marcus Stroman, Giolito, Severino, Kenta Maeda, Jack Flaherty, Martin Perez,
Old man
Seth
Rich
Lugo,
Hill.
Old man Rich Hill, Dick Mountain, Liam Hendricks, Craig Kimbrell, who just had a really good season. A lot of really good names. Wade Miley, Hector Neris, a lot of really good names. I could keep going, but I'll stop. A lot of really good names and couple teams to look out for in terms of these starters. The Padres, obviously, we just talked about how they would like starters. Mm-hmm. The Braves, we just taled about extensively. Lewis went in depth for them.
Yes, my apologies about that.
You're good. The Phillies, they're losing Aaron Nola, so they're going to need another number 2 starter if it's not Aaron Nola again. The Orioles, we've been talking about how they could potentially get some starting pitching and be even better of a team. We talked about Corbin Burns earlier in the episode. I think that they are a strong candidate to get Corbin Burns this offseason with their prospect capita. The Reds, they're a rebuilding team. Having a veteran pitcher, a really good veteran starting pitcher could help, especially with Hunter Green in your rotation right now. The Mets, I didn't even mention Yoshinobu Yamamoto might be the biggest solely starting pitcher free agent.
Yeah, and you're forgetting one team that I think would benefit the most from bringing in a top-of-the-line starting pitcher, and that's the Chicago Cubs, man. And not to, jump the gun on what's going on in free agency and if anything will happen soon, but the Cubs already, as we spoke about last episode, brought in Counsell and all that jazz, really cool. Counsell's working with the same thing that David Ross just had. And if you want to succeed and do better and not be one game out of the playoffs, maybe put some more stickum on Seiya Suzuki's glove and get guys who are not going to allow fly balls to Seiya Suzuki late in games. So definitely need to look into, if you're the Cubs, I think your number one priority, screw with Shohei Ohtani right now. Who cares about position players? I think the lineup can bang when they're all healthy and on one. Get some guys who can go 6 no-hit innings, 7 shutout innings. Blake Snell would look amazing donning a Cubs uniform. I don't think there's a question about it. Just
Are we
what? Are we what?
are we just gonna try to go on a streak to see how many episodes in a row we can mention the fact that Seiya Suzuki dropped that fly ball?
I think we are at this point. I was not going to mention
We're
it,
two in a row.
we are two in a row.
So far.
But like, they catch that ball, we could have been talking about them winning the World Series.
The Diamondbacks wouldn't have even been in the playoffs.
Yeah, it would have been the Cubs to win.
Anyway, I agree with your point. The Cubs, they lose Marcus Stroman. They could benefit from bringing in a guy who's better than Marcus Stroman.
A guy who just won the NL Cy Young in the most dominant fashion you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it would be him and Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, package deal. If you get Blake Snell, you got to get Gary Sanchez. Blake Snell.
For some reason, Gary Sanchez has now become a connoisseur of
Blake Snell.
Of Blake Snell.
He was, to be fair, there is a direct correlation to when Blake Snell started pitching to Gary Sanchez and when he started to be a Cy Young contender.
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, shout out Gary Sanchez, I guess. I'm interested to see what a lot of these teams do because there are plenty of teams that can look at their roster and say, hey, we get two good starters, one top of the line and one middle rotation piece, and we're talking about winning the World Series type of thing. They're at least half the league looks like that right now. I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. And that's all I got, to be quite honest. I'm excited for more of the offseason to go. I am still in my flu game, like I mentioned. I'm ready to get going here. Great episode. Talked about a lot of important stuff.
Yeah, we did. It was fun.
If you're still watching, we thank you. We love you guys.
Yes, of course. Oh my god, I don't need to throw the microphone.
So sorry. And yeah, we thank you for supporting us. The offseason is going to be fun. We have a fun episode about Shohei Ohtani coming out in the next few days. So keep your eye out for that. Yeah. And keep your eye out for that, and keep your eye out for our free agency preview in general coming out soon. So, anything else, Lewis? Any departing words?
Let's throw baseball. We're inching ever so closer to spring training and opening day, and I'm looking forward to it. But make sure that you stick around for the rest of the offseason with us here at Normal Baseball. We're going to have a lot of fun breaking down everything in terms of baseball news, free agent signings, and everything in between. Thank you all for watching, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.
Yes, we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.